Hi everyone, today let's take a closer look at Tesla post-earnings. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So Tesla did not do great on earnings, and we talked about it in yesterday's video, but I did want to highlight some more things from the call. There was quite a bit of detail about potential upcoming projects, the biggest one being that new affordable EV that's supposed to be around by late 2025, and that is going to help Tesla continue to grow on the delivery front. They struggled this quarter in terms of deliveries, and that obviously resulted in a decrease in earnings and revenues. You can see they still made money, 34 cents per share, but last year this time they made 73 cents per share, and revenue dropped to 21 billion versus the expected 22.2 billion. So the new vehicle is expected to be around that $25,000 mark, which would put it in the budget category compared to other new vehicles and the average price of a new vehicle. They also mentioned we're continuing to see high-level executives leaving Tesla, which is a little bit concerning. But on the back of this news, Tesla was up 11%. I think it was up even more than that. You can see 12% here in the ticker. They also talked about potentially licensing full self-driving. I think that'll be interesting. This is one of the things that sets Tesla apart. And if they do license it, I think that could be a bit of a detriment, although obviously it would increase their revenues. And then of course robotaxis. So the idea here with robotaxi is that they can have 1 million robotaxis all around the country, generating approximately $12 to $13 billion, which would increase their revenues by about 50% or more, and that would be a massive lift for the stock. And the hope here with robotaxis is that they're going to announce something pretty significant in the May timeframe, like they announced on Twitter. And if that does not come through, that's going to be a huge detriment for the stock. And then they put out some statistics around the Cybertruck. 1,000 Cybertrucks a week are currently being made, which is not keeping up with demand. But as that continues to increase, hopefully the company will continue to improve. Maybe deliveries will go up, and then we can start to meet those revenue numbers. And then they talked a little bit about full self-driving version 12, which I've done a little bit of research on. It's significantly better than version 11. It is AI driven, so it is self-developing, self-learning versus the coded technology that exists before. And I think this is a significant leap towards that full self-driving. And that's really what I think is driving the optimism around that robotaxi fleet. Because if they have that full self-driving that revolves around AI, then the robotaxi premise is actually feasible. They talked about some of the geopolitical risks, specifically around the gigafactories and the Red Sea conflict. That definitely hit them a little bit. But like I said, I think the biggest indicator is that Model 2, that cheaper vehicle, as well as the robotaxi fleet and the potential announcement in mid-May. Moving over to the chart, starting off with the monthly chart, you can see bearish momentum, bearish RSI. No surprises, Tesla has been in a dumpster fire. You can see a high, lower high setup. But overall, still a bull trend. Tesla is still way higher than where it started. Company came out at about $1.26. It's up at $162 on a split adjusted basis. But that does not mean that it's not down pretty significantly. It topped out around $400 per share, so it's down more than 50% from its peaks. It's been rough. You can see that high, lower high setup breaking down. And on the monthly chart, there's really no support here until that 144 EMA all the way down at 85.77. You do have trend support here at 131.16. That seems to be where we're headed, assuming that this earnings announcement doesn't actually catalyze a change in trend. Certainly possible. There was some good information in there. I also forgot to mention that they did talk about the Optimus robot potentially being available for mass production and sale by the end of 2025. So that's another pretty big announcement and potential for growth. And I think there's some other opportunities there as well that they didn't mention on the call surrounding energy storage and improvements in batteries. But we'll see. Right now, technically, this is still very much a downtrend. And looking at the weekly chart, we've been watching this pretty frequently. You can see that very consistent downtrend, hitting that trend line down here. Touched it on that session prior to earnings, and then we rallied up super aggressive. You can see we didn't touch that longer term trend line like I would have liked. And you can see actually that longer term trend line was directly in line with this bear flag setup. So breakdown, bear flag, breakdown, price target right in that zone on the trend line. And we didn't hit it, and we didn't hit oversold conditions either, which I guess you could argue is a little bit bullish, but I would have wanted to see it kind of finish that move, and then we could see what happens from there. Still very much a downtrend on the weekly chart. Momentum bearish, RSI very close to oversold, didn't quite get there. And then I want to add a level here at that previous bottom, right around that 102.65 area. Pretty interesting right there. But again, you would hope to find support here if it's going to do it. And then looking at the daily chart, you can see that interaction hit the trend line, gapped up and rallied on the Tuesday session, and then Tuesday night earnings, and now we're up around that 162 area. Still very much a downtrend. That does put you above the 9 EMA, which is interesting. That's at 155.93, and then you got VWAP in the 21 sitting at 165.58, and then that level there, 167.34. So that would be your zone of resistance. You also have the trend line that we're interacting with. That's that shorter term downtrend line. And you can see here, we did get above it on that earnings, tested it here pre-market, still holding up there. You got the 55 EMA on the 4-hour chart. That's at 161.71, still hanging in there. Momentum bullish, RSI obviously bullish on that move. But again, you want to see it get above the 200, start to get above these longer term EMAs. You also have a highly traded zone here. You can see all of this consolidation and that highly traded zone around 171.90. So waiting to see if it can get above that level. And it's certainly possible that we see a bit of a double dip down to that 152.43 area, hold that level, higher low setup, and then potentially rally. And then looking at the Tasty charts, you can see on that weekly chart, we did hit that lower ATR band last week and then this week before bouncing. So that lower ATR is still acting as support. That is at 144.31. Touch that level and you can see we're headed towards that 8 EMA on the weekly. That's at 168.75. So pretty much in that same zone, just a few points behind it as resistance. And we have been hugging that on the weekly chart. Definitely concerning, still downtrend. But looking at the daily chart, you can see lower ATR band, couple of bounces, got back above it. And now we're back at the mid-range, looking to see if we can take out the ATR stop on the daily chart. That's at 164.63, so right in that same zone. 162 to 167 is very important, and we could start to see trend changes if we can hold those levels, but we haven't seen it quite yet. And then looking at the 4-hour chart, obviously we got the reversal of conditions, looks super bullish on the shorter time frames. ATR stop to the downside now is at 145.14, which is pretty much right around those previous lows. And like I said, it wouldn't shock me if we did get a little bit of a pullback. We're extended above those upper ATRs on the shorter time frames. But if we pull back, find that higher low, then that's a potential setup for a more substantial move higher until we get that robo-taxi news in May, and then that's going to dictate direction. And then moving over to options here for Tesla. Now that earnings is out of the way, we'll see how this plays out. The earnings implied move was quite extended into that 163, 164 area. And you can see we almost touched that 162.20 right now. So we almost did that whole move for the week. Obviously, this option chain is going to adjust pretty significantly once markets open. But if you can still get some of this implied volatility, I do think that there's an opportunity here. There's so much implied vol. You could have gone all the way down to the 125s for $1 just for that Friday session. Almost 1%, $40 out of the money. There was definitely some opportunity there prior to earnings. And then similarly here, a week out, 142 for about $1.50. So decent opportunity. We'll see how these open up. Tons of implied vol. IV rank up at 64.8, which is pretty extended. And you can see we're actually falling a little bit more after hours. So might be patient if you're trying to sell some puts. Might see that pullback like I talked about. But shorter time frames do look bullish, and those moves down should be bought up if those shorter time frame trends hold up. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of Tesla going forward. Is it an opportunity, or is this a dying company? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.